Hello everyone, how are you today? Thanks for joining me. I know you don't normally see me doing the speaking, but there you go. Roll with the punches. Happy to have your company, whether you're on Zoom or maybe on YouTube. Nice to have you here anyway. Any comments you'd like to make or ask me, Zoom people, please stick to the chat box. Okay. Right, so I'm just getting my YouTube feed up here so I can actually see what's going on with me. I'm doing well, thank you. It was a chilly morning, but it's now a sunny day, and so I'm very happy that it's a sunny day. A bit of vitamin D never hurt anyone. Actually, no, it did. I'm sure people have died of vitamin D poisoning, skin cancer, etc. But anyway, thank you for your company. In this live class for speaking, we will look at the methods. We'll do a little bit of pronunciation, note-taking, and vocab practice. We'll practice each of the speaking tasks, and the whole thing will take about an hour. What are the speaking tasks, you ask? Reading aloud, repeat sentence, describe image, retell lecture, and answer short questions. It's important to know how many of each task you will have, and also what we're going to do today, how to execute each of those tasks, and of course, how much time you have to do that piece of speaking for, whether it's 35 to 40 seconds, 15 seconds, or 10. Okay, let's get underway. A few announcements first. The first is that the May Challenge Power Package is still on. It being May, it's still going. And for those of you who have not yet chosen the package, think about taking the Power Package. It's valid for 6 months, but it does include a 4-week study plan, access to the live classes, speaking and writing assessment, and mock test. Think about doing it. It's brilliant. We also now offer group classes. They're really excellent. If you are interested, you can join up to 4 other people plus the teacher to focus on a couple of areas of the PTE, and they're well priced, $12 per class. That's excellent value. Nearly as good as the tutorials, the one-on-one tutorials, which are done on Zoom, and they're hugely valuable. I think you get a lot out of them. We focus on up to 3 areas of the PTE that are of interest or concern to you. And yeah, really very worthwhile. We also offer feedback through the E2 language platform. That means that writing and speaking submissions are then analyzed by human eyes and human ears. And a report, you receive a little report back on how you've done. So those of you who are studying alone, who miss the input of a real teacher, come and do that. Definitely worthwhile. You get a lot out of it. And the last thing to tell you is that we have the mini mock test. Mini mock test is a 2.5 hour experience, all done online, so no danger of contamination or COVID-19. And it covers every aspect of the PTE, from speaking all the way through to writing, listening, and reading. Do it. It's brilliant. This, however, is the PTE speaking live class. Today is indeed where I am, Monday the 25th. It's important to note the phonemic chart or the phonetic chart. All of these weird symbols some of you may or may not be familiar with, each one representing a unique sound from the English language, whether they are vowels, the pure sounds I, E, O, A, U, the diphthongs A, I, O, ow, or the consonants G, M, L, Z, Ch, and so on. So the English language is made up of all of these sounds. Particularly interesting today is the E sound from bed and the A sound from cat. Okay, E and A. They often get confused in certain language groups. I had a headache for some language groups sounds exactly the same. That's what we do. We approximate sounds to sounds that exist in our first language. So focusing on these sounds, could you take a few moments to read these 3 tongue twisters? Okay, excellent. Of course, I can't hear you, but you can hear me. 10 men mend 10 black pairs of pants for 7 men in France. Notice I say France, not France. It's just one of those things. Elmer Elwood eluded 11 elderly elephants. And Anna Anteater ate Andy Alligator's apples. So angry alligator. I'll try from the beginning, shall I? Ann Anteater ate Andy Alligator's apples. So angry Andy Alligator ate Ann Anteater's ants. Too much. But there you go. It's good to practice the tongue twisters. Forces you to get your mouth around some tricky words. Okay, take 30 seconds now, please, to read some of the vocabulary we'll be looking at today. Okay, thank you. Now, please, 30 seconds to match the word or the phrase on the left with the definition with its meaning on the right. Okay, thanks for your answers. Felon is a criminal. Decrepitude is A, worn out due to age or neglect. Number 3, correctional facility is a nice way of saying prison. Number 4, by father is easily, clearly, or by a big margin. Profoundly could be very, deeply, or extremely. Okay, thank you for your answers. Let's start then with read aloud. What's involved here? Instructions at the top, a text which you will then have to read aloud. There is a countdown there which will indicate when you are expected to start speaking. The method then, you start by reading aloud with your voice in the practice time. Do me a favor, everyone around you, do everyone a favor, don't scream. In the test, there is a common PTE that the louder you speak, the better your score. That's not true. All you do is irritate everyone around you. So speak at a normal tone and a normal volume level. But again, practice reading this first in your voice. Give voice to the words. Then, when you speak, read at a moderate pace. The pace at which you speak in read aloud is going to be consistent with the pace that you do the rest of the speaking tasks at. I will emphasize that. You do not want to have multiple versions of you in the speaking. One version of you is enough. So let's not have a really, really quick version of you doing read aloud and a really weirdly slow version of you doing, I don't know, retail lecture. Okay? So please read at a moderate pace. Make sure you're reading the phrases, pausing appropriately, and read with meaning so you don't sound like a robot. Do not wait more than 3 seconds. Don't hesitate. Don't and ah. Don't correct yourself. Keep moving forwards. Do not add, omit, or replace any words, and don't read too quickly. You are scored on content, oral fluency, and pronunciation. There are 6 or 7 of these in the test. And do check the instructions. You usually get 35 to 40 seconds beforehand before you actually start being recorded and reading. Okay, have your phones ready because this is how you're going to be recording yourselves today. I'll be quiet. Okay, here's a sample answer for you. Listening carefully, and please note the two key aspects of rhythm and stress and phrasing. Okay, so the pausing is very, very important. You're not just rattling it off. Don't worry, Juliana. Yeah, you're not just rattling it off willy-nilly. All right, listening?
Throughout much of the recent history of medicine, we've thought about illness and treatment in terms of a profoundly simple model. In fact, the model's so simple that you could summarize it in 6 words. Have disease, take pill, kill something. Now, the reason for the dominance of this model is, of course, the antibiotic revolution.
Okay, so notice the stressing and notice the pausing. Okay, so pausing doesn't have to be punctuated, although it often is. Okay, and the natural patterns of speech, peaks and troughs, periods when there's nothing at all, literally belting out the answer like a, you know, I don't know, what could I say, like a freight train, express train maybe, machine gun. You don't want to have that. You want to have pausing. Okay, now the reason for the dominance of this model is, of course, the antibiotic revolution. Okay, so the way you score yourself is as follows: 5 points to each of these. Content, if you read what's on the page and did not replace or omit words, a mark out of 5. Oral fluency and pronunciation, these are repeated throughout. You read smoothly and fluently, you didn't hesitate or correct errors. And for pronunciation, you spoke with native-like stress and rhythm, and you sound native-like. I would emphasize this is not about you imitating a native speaker of English as far as accent is concerned. It is very much about the way that language sounds as it is formed on its way out of your mouth. It needs to sound like English, not like another language. Let's do another one. Lovely. All right. Sample answer here. Reading and listening at the same time.
We have to understand how drugs work and how they work together and how they work separately, and we don't have a great understanding. But the FDA has made available an amazing database. It's a database of adverse events. They literally put on the web, publicly available, hundreds of thousands of adverse event reports from patients, doctors, companies, pharmacists.
Lovely. Okay. Again, mark out of 15. 5 plus 5 plus 5. It's 30 overall. And we move on to repeat sentence. Sorry. Forgive me. I occasionally forget about the video. I turn it off. Forget to turn it on. Sorry. Repeat sentence then. That's what it looks like. You hear a sentence and you repeat it exactly as you hear it. So what's the method? You start by listening for phrases. There's usually 3 phrases. and try to get the overall meaning. It's a little bit like what we ask you to do for write from dictation. You should listen to the way the speaker says the sentences, because that shadowing thing is going on as well. You're not just repeating the words, you're repeating the manner in which it was spoken. So speak clearly, speak naturally, and try to say the sentence in the same way, or at least a similar way to what the speaker did, okay? Don't correct yourself if you make a mistake. That really doesn't work well in the PTE. You're scored on content, oral fluency and pronunciation, and you have 10 to 12 seconds to listen and then 15 seconds to respond, okay? So have your phones ready, please. Listen carefully.
I'll meet you by the car park in 20 minutes near the gate. I'll meet you by the car park in 20 minutes near the gate.
I'll meet you by the car park in 20 minutes near the gate. Okay, 13 words. So score-wise, 3 points for content, meaning you repeated everything that you remember and you joined it all together. Sound as natural as you can. If you can't remember every word, you know, sound like you did know what they were saying. And then we have, of course, oral fluency and pronunciation, the same as before. So that's a score out of 13 for those. Let's do another.
The acceptance needs to be sent by midday today, at the very latest. The acceptance needs to be sent by midday today, at the very latest.
Okay. Stick with a very nice accent. At the very latest, 13 words there as well. Let's do another.
The new equipment orders are going in this afternoon, so if you want anything, let me know. The new equipment orders are going in this afternoon, so if you want anything, let me know.
That one was tricky. I would give you that. A bit more quick, or indeed a bit quicker. Well, there you have it, 17 words. So 3 clauses. The new equipment orders are going in this afternoon, so if you want anything, let me know. See what we said about splitting it up? It would be easier to take on a challenging task like that, splitting it up. Okay, so it's out of 39 for this one. Remember, content 3 points here, repeating everything that you remember and join it all together. 39 overall for those 3. And we move on to one of my favorite tasks, actually, which is describe image. So instructions are there. You've got a graph, you've got the instructions. What do you have to do here? You start by preparing and looking at the title and the x-axis, noticing information that you can see in the image, and look for simple information, high point, a low point, and maybe something else. When you speak, use our framework, which I'll tell you in a moment, and speak clearly at a moderate pace. Continue speaking throughout. Keep it as simple as you can, but not simplistic, if that makes sense to you. I don't want a series of incredibly short, very basic sentences. That's not good enough. Try and stop at 35 seconds, because if the microphone cuts you off, that's an incomplete answer, and that will not be very good for you. Don't get complicated, don't wait, don't hesitate, or ah, and don't restart your sentences. You're scored on content, oral fluency and pronunciation. There are 6 or 7 of these in the test. You have 25 seconds to prepare, and then up to 40 seconds to speak. Remember what we said, try to stop at 35 seconds. So the E2 language framework: introduction, body, conclusion. This is something you can apply to whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, in introduction, if you're talking about a graph, this line graph, bar graph, pie chart represents, and then talk about the title of the graph and the x-axis, not the y, please, just the x. Then the body, you pick on 3 key features, keeping it simple. 3 key features that you can see: a high point, a low point, and something else. You don't have much time, so I do not want you getting worried about data points. Okay, oh, but there's so many data points, I could say so much. No, you can't. You've only got 35 seconds. Then your conclusion is a 1-sentence conclusion, a summary, a prediction, or a reason. What is happening, what's going to happen next, or why is this happening? Everything there has to be done in under 35 seconds. Okay, that's of course the massive challenge that you've got when you do this task. So remind me in any order that comes to you and share your thoughts. You want to see the repeat sentence tip again in a moment. What's the framework for describe image? Remind me. Introduction. Yeah, excellent. What it represents, the title, and the x-axis. Good. Body. Splendid. Yeah. Very good. Very good. 3 features: high point, low point, and something else. And then your conclusion is one of 3 things. Your conclusion is one of 3 things. What are they? Yeah. A summary, a prediction, or a reason. The basic structure. Thank you very much, everyone who's responded. Summary, a prediction, or a reason is how it goes. So you've got 3 segments. Don't go in thinking my introduction has to be this many seconds, my body must be this many seconds, my conclusion must be this many seconds. It doesn't work that way. Sometimes your introduction can be very simple. Sometimes it has to be a bit more involved by necessity. Something I always say to students is, think about it. On the basis of your words, somebody listening to you, would they have a clear mental image of what it is that you've actually been looking at? Okay, so let's have a little think about this. Okay, this bar graph, what it represents, this is an example of what we're trying to do here. Come up with some vocabulary that you might use to talk about this graph in 30 seconds. Okay. Thank you. Trends, absolutely, definitely. What it represents, most popular, good. Most popular, most common, dominated by, perhaps, middle range of popularity, least popular, or most popular. Okay, so there you've got a whole bunch of ideas. So you can talk about the different categories. Remember, we are concerned about the x-axis. We are not obsessed. We are not concerned about values on the y-axis. Okay, so please don't worry about that. Cool. So sample answer here. You've got your introduction, you've got your body, and you've got your conclusion. Let me just play the sample answer first.
This bar graph illustrates methods of booking holidays according to age groups. Desktops and laptops were the most common method of booking holidays in all age groups, while smartphones were the least common. 35-year-olds and older dominated the category of phone use,
All right, you'll notice the summary there was the conclusion, the summary. We've also got others. You could do a prediction, or you could do a reason. Conclusion, you should be starting your conclusion by 30 seconds, because otherwise it's just going to be impossible, really. Prediction could be, in conclusion, it could be predicted that smartphones may come to dominate. Reason, in conclusion, a possible reason for. So it doesn't hurt you to use the word in conclusion. We can see that. It can be predicted that. A possible reason is that. Use that language, it will help you. And it certainly helps the listener to understand what it is that you're seeing, okay? So remember the framework, introduction. This graph represents the title and x-axis, the body, where you've got the three key features, keeping it simple, high point, low point, something else, and then your conclusion, a one-sentence summary, prediction, or a reason. So have your phones ready. 25 seconds to prepare and 40, up to 40 to speak. Okay, sample answer time.
This bar chart illustrates the top issues that make shopping more difficult across 3 different age groups. Millennials express the largest number of problems in each category, but most notably with household budget limitations, where almost 50% had a problem. Boomers had the fewest problems in each category, and Gen X consistently fell in the middle. The biggest problems across all of the groups were budget limitations and busy weekly schedules. In conclusion, it seems that boomers experienced fewer problems in general than the other 2 groups.
Okay, lovely. So scoring here, apart from oral fluency and pronunciation, content. Did you have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion? Okay, we give shape to the answer. It helps maximize your score. Okay, give your answer shape. Cool. Retell lecture. This is also interesting in the same sense that describe image, you're talking about something that you can see and the person listening cannot. Retell lecture is you're talking about something that you heard and the person you're talking to did not. Okay, so note taking is going to be important. Have a pen and paper handy. You hear a lecture. Okay, I mean, the challenge here is that the time between hearing the lecture and talking about it is very, very brief. But what's the method? You start by preparing and using the image to focus. Listen carefully and take notes, not extensive notes. 6 to 8 keywords should do. When you speak, use our framework. I'll talk about it in a minute, and elaborate on your keywords. Keep it as simple as possible, but not simplistic. And then speak clearly and at a moderate pace as you go. Don't talk about the picture. There will be a picture that is evocative, but not the topic. Do not wait more than 3 seconds. Otherwise, the microphone will cut. Don't and ah, and don't restart your sentences. Okay? Content, oral fluency, and pronunciation are the order of the day. And there are 3 or 4 of these in the test. You should listen for 60 to 90 seconds, prepare for a meager 10 seconds, and then talk for up to 40. Here's the framework. For those of you who are familiar with summarized spoken text, this is very familiar. The speaker was discussing a topic. She mentioned a key word, she described a key word, she talked about a keyword, she discussed a keyword, and she suggested that a keyword. You will notice that this is all about reported speech. You are not giving a lecture, you are talking about someone, talking about something, okay? So attribute that in every point that you make. If you made 5 observations, you should be using 5 different reporting verbs. Remind me what those reporting verbs were. Of course, if you have others up your sleeve that you'd like to use, go ahead and do that. But what are the reporting verbs we use here? Mentioned, was discussing, discussed, highlighted, suggested, yeah, talked about, excellent. If others come to mind, that's fine. We teach you these ones because they are more or less straightforward to remember. Discussing, mentioned, described, talked about, discussed, and suggested. Okay, a little bit of practice. Do me a favor, please look at the image. Think about what the text is going to be about. Listen to the sound file and understand, and make 6 to 8 keywords in your notes. Okay. This is just to work a little bit on your memory. So listening carefully, please.
In the fall of 2009, a young man was arrested by the Boston Police Department. He was 18 years old, he was African American, and he was a senior at a local public school. He had his sights set on college, but his part-time minimum wage job wasn't providing the financial opportunity he needed to enroll in school. In a series of bad decisions, he stole 30 laptops from the store and sold them on the internet. This led to his arrest and a criminal complaint of 30 felony charges. The potential jail time he faced is what stressed Christopher out the most, but what he had little understanding of was the impact a criminal record would have on his future. I was standing in arraignments that day when Christopher's case came across my desk, and at the risk of sounding dramatic in that moment, I had Christopher's life in my hands. I was 29 years old, a brand new prosecutor, and I had little appreciation for the decisions that I would make would impact Christopher's life. Christopher's case was a serious one and needed to be dealt with as such, but I didn't think that branding him a felon for the rest of his life was the right answer.
So what keywords would you make a note of there? Don't overthink it. Okay. And don't be shy about sharing, I'm happy to see. African American, yeah. Arrested, good. Somebody said laptops, yeah, you did steal laptops apparently. 2009, criminal record. Stolen, future, excellent. Okay, good. That's what I mean. You don't want to overdo it. All right. So the speaker mentioned, was discussing, and so on. So yeah, jail time, criminal record, nice stuff. Okay. Sorry. What we've got are things like this. First one was discussing 18 arrested, N college, D 30 laptops, T internet, D jail, and S brand felon. Okay, so you've just got enough to have a talking point for each of the attributable reporting verbs. Okay, so have a listen.
The speaker was discussing an 18-year-old boy who had been arrested. He mentioned that the boy wanted to go to college but didn't have enough money. Then he described how he stole 30 laptops from a shop, and he talked about how the boy sold them over the internet. Next, he discussed how the boy didn't realise the effect that jail time would have on his future. And finally, he suggested that branding the boy as a felon wasn't going to be the right thing to do.
Can you use highlighted instead of suggested? Yes. Concluded, went on to say, added, opined. You can use other reporting verbs, of course. I just think that the ones we teach you are the most commonly known, understood, and straightforward. That's why. Okay. So have your phone ready and listen. Good luck. Make notes and retell. I'll see you soon.
The path that American children travel to adulthood. Two institutions oversee the journey. The first is the one we hear a lot about, college. Some of you may remember the excitement that you felt when you first set off for college. Some of you may be in college right now and you're feeling this excitement at this very moment. College has some shortcomings. It's expensive. It leaves young people in debt. But all in all, it's a pretty good path. Young people emerge from college with pride and with great friends and with a lot of knowledge about the world, and perhaps most importantly, a better chance in the labor market than they had before they got there. Today I want to talk about the second institution overseeing the journey from childhood to adulthood in the United States, and that institution is prison. Young people on this journey are meeting with probation officers instead of with teachers. They're going to court dates instead of to class. Their junior year abroad is instead a trip to a state correctional facility. And they're emerging from their 20s not with degrees in business and English, but with criminal records.
Nice. Okay. Sample then. Okay. Reading along and listening to this, note please, of course, as far as where the information is that we are actually extracting in order to talk about. So we've got adulthood, two institutions, college, excitement, labor market, prison, and criminal records. So reading and listening along to the sample answer, please.
The path that American children travel to adulthood. Two institutions oversee the journey. The first is the one we hear a lot about, college. Some of you may remember the excitement that you felt when you first set off for college. Some of you may be in college right now and you're feeling this excitement at this very moment. College has some shortcomings. It's expensive. It leaves young people in debt. But all in all, it's a pretty good path. Young people emerge from college with pride and with great friends and with a lot of knowledge about the world, and perhaps most importantly, a better chance in the labor market than they had before they got there. Today I want to talk about the second institution overseeing the journey from childhood to adulthood in the United States, and that institution is prison. Young people on this journey are meeting with probation officers instead of with teachers. They're going to court dates instead of to class. Their junior year abroad is instead a trip to a state correctional facility. And they're emerging from their 20s not with degrees in business and English,
Okay.
but with
so
criminal
start grants
records.
Listening.
The speaker was discussing the path to adulthood in America. She mentioned that it is dominated by two institutions. First, she talked about how one institution is college. She described how college is exciting. It's a great place to meet friends, and you leave with a sense of pride and with a qualification for a job. Then she mentioned the second institution, which is prison. Finally, she suggested that young people on this path meet court officials instead of teachers and emerge with a criminal record instead of a degree.
Okay. Score-wise, give yourself a score out of 15. Content this time, was it an accurate and thorough retelling of what you heard? Give yourself a score out of 5. Then, of course, 5 each for oral fluency and pronunciation. Okay. There's a vocab quiz coming up, so don't run away. Answer short question. I always feel that this is one area of the test where, I don't know, yeah, I suppose you either know it or you don't, but let's have a look. How this works. You listen and you focus carefully, okay? Then you need to answer with 1 or 2 words only, never more than that, okay? Speak as clearly and naturally as you can, and please don't use complete sentences, there's no need. And this task will affect both your speaking and listening score. You have a point for the correct answer. Talk for 10 to 12 seconds, and then you have up to 10 seconds to answer, okay? So, that being the case, listening carefully, please.
If it was midday 2 hours ago, what time is it now? If it was midday 2 hours ago, what time is it now?
There's your answer there, 2 p.m., 2 or 2 in the afternoon. Any of those would do. If you said 2 in the afternoon, that's okay. I know we said answer with 2 words, but you get the spirit of it. As long as you're clear, that's fine. Next one.
What material is a wedding ring usually made from? What material is a wedding ring usually made from?
Okay, next one.
What is the word that is used to describe a man who is not married? What is the word that is used to describe a man who is not married?
Okay, the answer is a bachelor or bachelor. It's interesting, by the way. Yeah, for the previous one about the ring, gold is the only answer. A ring is not made of diamonds. A ring may include diamonds, but the wedding rings are generally gold. I agree with you. I think that one is culturally ambiguous. Just out of interest, we call a man who is never married a bachelor. What do we call a woman who's never married? Anyone know? Also an interesting cultural thing. Nearly there. A couple of you are very close. I knew somebody would suggest Bachelorette. That's just the name of a show because, yes, very good, Sonia, you were first. Spinster. And a few of you have also got Spinster. Yes, Spinster. Why not single? A-shot? You're absolutely right. I think it's disgusting. The word spinster is such a loaded term. Single. Yeah, I'm single. Single is somebody who's, they might be divorced. between relationships. It doesn't matter. I mean, whatever. We now use much less judgmental language. The implications for bachelor are not negative. The implications for spinster are terrible. That's just how it goes. That's a cultural thing. Give yourself a point for the correct answers. And your score overall is out of 102. 30, 39, 15, 15, 3. Yeah, unmarried, you just say single, that's fine. And let's do a quick vocabulary quiz. Okay. 30 seconds, please, to review this. Okay. If you are ready, 10 questions. Here are the first 5. 30 seconds to do the first 5. And the next 5. Excellent, thank you. Here they are. The company records are publicly available. Coca-Cola has had dominance in the market for many decades. In the past, they were government-owned. Now many correctional facilities are privately owned. We can't expand into new markets at present due to budget limitations. Number 5, his experience as a young boy growing up in Kenya profoundly influenced his view of poverty. Number 6, millennials are young people born around the turn of the century. That's actually not true, is it? Millennials are born before the turn of the century. I think from 1984. I can't, sorry. If anyone knows the answer of this, please tell me. When are millennials actually born? Because I think it's not around the turn of the century, it's before. Number 7, submit your essay online by midnight on Friday at the latest. Number 8, we're setting off for Spain next month. Number 9, baby boomers are people born in the 20 years after the Second World War ended. And number 10, her poor academic record had an adverse effect on her chances of getting a good job. So, based on today's performance, what does your score actually mean? If you got a score out of 102 of 90 plus, that would be about a 79. If you got 65 plus, that's over a 74. And if you got 50, I'm so sorry. So if you want 65 plus, that's a 74 or more. If you want 50 or more in the test, you want 57 or more in today's class. Sorry for being a little bit slow off mark there. If you use a or and before the term FBI, yeah, well, if it requires an FBI agent or an FBI agent, we would normally say an FBI agent. Yeah, Praveen, I'm looking at your query now. My practice of describing some images like a picture of a rising sun. What do I do in those cases? Very limited content. Yeah. I'm looking at a picture of the sun rising. The scene is, and describe a scene in the foreground, in the background, to the bottom to the top. Decrepitude, decrepitude. I'll go back to repeat sentence in a minute if I can. Bear with me. But there's always something to talk about when you're looking at an image. I'm looking at a picture of a girl riding a bicycle down a busy road. On the left-hand side, in the foreground, in the background, above, below, and so on. Use prepositions of place. If you're underperforming in the speaking, where are your problems? In relation to content, maybe you're struggling with listening, with vocabulary, or a lack of general knowledge. With pronunciation, maybe you're struggling with particular consonants, vowel sounds, stress patterns, and intonation. And maybe in oral fluency, you lack confidence. Maybe you're not familiar with our techniques. Perhaps you lack vocabulary, and perhaps your grammar is a bit poor. Things that you can do: start by going to our blog, blog.e2language.com, click on PTE, and then go to the speaking blog, which is there for you, replete with really interesting, well-written articles. First thing you should do when you log into your course for the first time is complete the study pathway, because that will literally provide you with a pathway through the course from beginning to end. The full content of the course sits inside PTE course, and course skills is backup material for you to constantly improve your basic grammar. Repeat sentence, I think practice makes perfect on repeat sentence. It's a challenge. Review live classes. All the recordings for the live classes are uploaded and stay in the platform for 2 weeks. Let's turn my video on. Sorry about that. I keep forgetting. They stay there for 2 weeks. Even if you weren't registered for a live class, you can watch the recording as many times as you want. We offer speaking and writing feedback to the PTE through the platform, and it's incredibly worthwhile for those of you studying on your own. We have one-to-one tutorials that can be booked through the platform as well. And remember, entirely focused on areas of the test that you are struggling with. You can do group classes, don't forget. I mentioned that. I'll show a slide again in a moment. Our group classes of between 2 and 5 students for a very good price of only $12. Other thing is that we have resources, including the media. And don't forget that we have a sister site called E2 School, and in E2 School there is a speaking lab course. So those of you struggling a little bit with pronunciation, you might want to think about taking advantage of that. Sign up for free. Don't forget, YouTube people, we have the power package still valid. It's valid for 6 months, the course. Once you've got it, it does include a 4-week study plan, access to the live classes, a speaking and writing assessment, and a mini mock test with feedback. If you've got any questions, I will happily answer them. Oops, old slides. Let me go back, see if I can get back to remind. Is it read aloud you wanted me to find? I'm going back and trying to find it, okay? Repeat sentence. Power package, $75. There. I think that's it from the beginning, isn't it? Yeah, repeat sentence. There you go. Repeat sentence. Look, I'm not saying it to be, facile, but practice makes perfect with repeat sentence. Start with shorter sentences and phrases, and then build them up. Build them up so that you get better and better at it. It is a challenge, I know that. And it's not something you generally have to do, but it is something you can improve and practice on a regular basis. That will help you get where you need to be. Okay. My pleasure. Thank you very much for your questions, everybody. But spinster is the word for a woman who never married, and the implications are pejorative, whereas bachelor is always, oh, he's such a, he's playing the field. Whereas with a woman, it's like, she's going to die old and alone. Very sexist. All right, everyone, listen, enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you may be. I'm in Melbourne, being a little bit cold. My hands are cold. That's because it is cold, but I'll live. See you all again. I'll be back tomorrow with, I suppose it's writing on Tuesday. I'll be back. See you soon. Bye.